All right, let's just settle into a nice, comfortable seated posture. And just relax, and we'll go on this Vajrasattva ride. So just feet flat on the floor, about a hip's width apart if you have your feet down. Or if you're in a cross-legged position, maybe a couple of cushions underneath each knee. And also a cushion, something underneath your coccyx, just to create a nice supported angle of the pelvis. So what I mean by that is that when the pelvis is not leaning back, that you change the angle of the pelvis by putting a little, maybe even half an inch or an inch underneath the sits bones, and then you'll notice what happens is the shoulders then nicely align. And it's easier for you then to align your ears with your shoulders. And imagine your spine is this beautiful string of pearls of light that stretches from the base and kind of goes all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. And just imagine somebody's on behind you, above you, very gently lengthening that string of pearls of light. Maybe you can feel some sensation in the crown of the head. Maybe just release any tension there. Relax the forehead, the eyes, the eyebrows, the eyelashes. Relax the eyes, the back of the eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the mouth, the jaw, the back of the tongue. Relax the ears and the inner ear. Relax the back of the neck. Allow your shoulders and shoulder blades to drop down, and relax the throat and the chest and the belly and all of your limbs. And just notice the sensations of the breath. Base of the nose, the chest, the thoracic region, the belly. Be aware of any sound in your environment. So most of you are in the same place that you're usually in. So you understand what sounds are around this time of night or morning. You just allow those sounds to be there, trying not to run off and investigate with the mind. And then notice what's arising in your mind. Try and put some space in between your thoughts. And as you're observing what's there, becoming aware of what's there, try and, just allow yourself a little bit of curiosity, some objectivity. And try not to, follow all the stories. Sometimes we're miles away before we've figured out that we're not really particularly following reality. Then bring to mind some people of our life. So our loved ones, these, people in our life who are so precious. Of course, we see them as sweet and precious, and then we have people in our life who we don't really see that way. And then we have our strangers, many of them. And these relationships are interchangeable due to karma, due to impermanence. And however you see a person at this particular time, a sentient being at this particular time, they're all anyway just like us, just like you and me, because they all want to be happy. They all want to be free from suffering, and they all have this extraordinary capacity for a Buddha mind. So I think we'll do this meditation this evening for all these people of our life, and by extension, all sentient beings. And there's so much going on in the world right now, so much going on here in the United States right now. I think just place your mind on something, that you'd like to motivate for. Maybe something that's touching your heart right now, something that might be concerning you. And we think there is no negativity that can't be purified. And this purification process is basically a psychological one. We create negativity with our mind, so equally we can change it by creating positivity instead. And we start with this power of regret, the first of the four opponent powers. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all of our past lives. And think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma, and we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions, and having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. And we cannot bear the thought of any future suffering that we might experience. And we know from our present suffering, we don't want any more. So logically, it makes sense to remove the karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So think like this: I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows because I do not want the future suffering. I'm sick of suffering, and also regret any anger, attachment, and the rest, all of our delusions that are the cause of why we harm others, and then think, I'm sick of this suffering, and who can I turn to? So here we come to this power of reliance. So the first of this section, sort of subsection in this section of reliance, is refuge. So we relying upon Buddha Vajrasattva, who we see as a doctor, who has these methods that we can use to purify. And we're not needing Buddha to forgive us. We're not looking for a higher power here. We're just purifying ourselves. We're healing ourselves by relying upon his medicine. So we start with Vajrasattva above the crown of our heads. And you can also imagine this is your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of this beautiful, radiant, blissful white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. He has a beautiful, radiant face. His eyes are long and peaceful and full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart, the left underneath the right. The left is holding a bell representing wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion. And their being crossed represents the union of these two. And this symbolizes enlightenment itself, the development of infinite wisdom and infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood so as to benefit all sentient beings. And so now we have this little section, subsection on compassion, developing compassion. So in order to develop compassion, we need to rely upon other beings, so the very beings we have harmed and those who have harmed us, by developing a wish for them to be free from suffering. So think particularly of people you've harmed recently and in the past, and then in general, all beings we have ever harmed since beginningless time. And then remember those who have harmed you, and have compassion for them, because the harm they've caused you is going to result as suffering for them sometime in the future. So make a strong aspiration to do this practice of purification for the sake of all these beings. So we think, I must purify for their sake. So now we come to this power of remedy, and this is medicine, doing the practice of purification. And we start with the body. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart. And it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body, filling you completely. And it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of all of your lower orifices all the harm you've ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid. And this pours out of you and disappears into space. Not one atom left as we recite the mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samayam Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawakama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ahom Pe Om Vajrasattva Samayam Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Jita Meboa Sitokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawakama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagawan sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahom pe vajrasattva samayam manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawakama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagawan Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahom pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawakama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahom pe Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawakama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahom pe Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawakama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahom pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyatsa sawakama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sattva ahum pe. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified. And imagine there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. And next is this purification of our speech. And Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra. And this arcs around and forcefully enters your crown and fills your entire body, except this time it forces up to the top of your body all this negativity of our speech, and this overflows quite powerfully and disappears into space again, not one atom left. So imagine all of the gossip and the harsh speech and our useless speech and lying and talking about people behind their backs and getting other people to agree with you and all our kind of inappropriate speech, sort of not knowing what to say when. And imagine all of this is purified by this powerful nectar filling you as we recite the mantra again. Vajrasattva Manupalaya Vajrasattva Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe Vajrasattva Manupalaya Vajrasattva Patita Drita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anorekta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra ah hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorekta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagawan Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahompe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita. Trida meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa. Anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagawan. Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ahompe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita trita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ah hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita trita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anorekta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ah hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorekta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sattva hum pe. And again, feel so happy that your speech is now completely purified. And imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech. And next is this purification of our mind. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So it's just, imagine you walk into a room, it's dark, and you flick on the switch, and the light that comes instantly dispels the darkness. So you imagine the same here. The moment the light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, so that includes all our jealousy and anxieties and bitterness and grudges and depression and insecurities and just kind of disappointments. Well, all these things are kind of like heavy and disturbing, and all of this is instantly dispelled, relieved by this mantra as we recite it again. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ah hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita jita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anorekta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ah hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorekta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata ah hum pe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina dina patita, drita meboa, situkaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, Anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiata sawa kama sita me, sitam shriam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagawan, sawa tata gata vajrama mimutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe, vajrasapa samaya manupalaya, vajrasapa dina patita, drita meboa, situkaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, Anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiata sawa kama sita me, sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan, Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe. Vajrasafa samaya manupalaya vajrasafa dina patita. Drita meboa, sitokaya meboa, sipokaya meboa. Anorakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me. Sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan. Sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe. Vajrasafa samaya manupalaya vajrasafa dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawatata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hum pe. So be delighted again, all your delusions, which the source of all of our own suffering and the cause of why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified, just gone. And think that there's no space now in your heart for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. And next is the purification of even the imprints of negativity of the body, speech, and mind. And this time, imagine that Vajrasattva sends light and nectar. It fills you completely and eradicates even the subtlest imprints of negative energy from your consciousness as we recite the mantra again. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya. Actually, sorry, can the hosts please put up the mantra just before we continue?
It should be up.
I can't see it.
I can see it.
You can see it? Okay, if you can all see it. Alrighty. Don't know why it's not showing on mine. All right. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hompe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hompe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hompe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hompe vajrasattva samaya manupalaya vajrasattva dina patita drita meboa situkaya meboa sipokaya meboa anorakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriam kuru hum ha ho bhagawan sawa tatagata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya satra a hompe Vajrasattva Samayam Nupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Drita Meboa Sutokaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasidi Mimpiyatsa Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shiyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ah Hum Pe. So now feel completely purified. There's not one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. And now we come to the power of resolve. And this is the fourth and final step in the purification process. And it's a really crucial one. And this is this determination to not harm with our body and our speech and our mind. So we can start with this idea of wanting to refrain from harming. And this just gives us some guardrails. We're not going to get anything done unless we decide to do it. So we need to just decide, this is what I want. There's some things I'd like to change that are harmful to myself and others. So everyone pretty much has an idea of what it is for them, what it is you might want to let go of. And sometimes we have things that we're not particularly aware of. So one of the points of this practice is to develop a little bit more insight into ourselves as well, develop some awareness. Gradually over time, things will change. So rejoice in your efforts coming along here, particularly people on the East Coast. Don't know if Shrey's here tonight. It's early morning for him. That's very, very late. It's like 11:30 at night for some of you people. So rejoice in your efforts. And then think of all those things that you might like to change. So maybe just might be negative self-talk. I think probably all of us do that, maybe a little bit too much. So you could start there and catch yourself for maybe a minute in a day. And then imagine Vajrasattva is delighted with us. It wants to merge with your mind, then melts into light and absorbs into you through your crown. And think, my teacher's body, speech, and mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. So next, Rinpoche would recommend to meditate on emptiness. So he would say, in emptiness, there is no I, the creative negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma. And there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level you understand emptiness, place your mind there for a little while. We can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. You can also think that the way things appear to me may not necessarily be the way they exist. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy you've created doing this practice to all living beings, and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. So here we have we recite 3 verses of the chanting the names of Manjushri for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. The Bodhisattva and Mahasattva, with great power, great, transcending worldly life, perfected by his excellence of insight, now unified with insight's highest nature. The whole, aware of self, aware of other, for fit for all, he is the best of men, surpassing all to which he is compared, supreme most lord of knowing and what's known, the foremost master of imparting Dharma, who shows the meaning of the fourfold seal, the most revered amongst all living beings, engaged in going forth on all 3 paths. Okay, everybody, let's have a strong wish for His Holiness the Dalai Lama to live long, for the swift return of our precious Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and for all of your individual teachers. So, okay, everybody, Lots of love. Take care.